If you're over 60 or even just beginning to notice small changes in how your legs feel after a walk or at the end of the day, this video is for you. Here are 7 fruits you must stop eating if you're above 55 years old. Pineapple, the acidic attacker. I want to start with a fruit that almost everyone believes is a health food superstar. I used to think so too. Pineapple, bright, juicy, and packed with that tangy flavor that makes your mouth water. You hear it all the time. Pineapple contains bromelain, an enzyme that's supposed to help with inflammation. So, why is it a problem? Well, here's where things get tricky. For someone in their 20s or 30s, a slice of pineapple is probably no big deal. But as we age, things start to shift. Our blood vessels, especially in the legs and lower body, become more fragile. The tiniest capillaries, those small tubes that deliver oxygen-rich blood to our muscles, don't function as smoothly. When you eat pineapple, you're taking in a concentrated dose of acid and sugar. That combo is deceptively powerful. The acidity in pineapple can irritate joints that are already inflamed due to arthritis or other age-related issues. I saw this in my own family. A morning fruit salad with pineapple would lead to an afternoon of stiffness and unexplained soreness in the knees. And it wasn't just the joints, it was circulation too. The spike in blood sugar that comes from eating pineapple stresses the vascular system. That stress slows down oxygen delivery to the muscles. And without oxygen, your leg muscles tire out faster. You feel heavy, you feel stiff, and worst of all, you think it's just aging. But it's not just age, it might be that slice of pineapple on your plate. Pineapple also interacts with certain medications, especially blood thinners. Bromelain can intensify their effects or blunt them, depending on the dose. So, what you think is helping you reduce inflammation might actually be interfering with your treatment, raising the risk of bruising or swelling in your legs. It's a quiet, slow-acting issue. You don't feel it after one meal, but over weeks and months, it adds up. And that's why I call pineapple the acidic attacker, because it works slowly, without warning, and with a smile on its face. Bananas, the sugar trap. Now, let's talk about bananas. I used to think of bananas as the ultimate health snack. Quick, easy, potassium-rich, and perfect after a walk. We've all heard the advice. Bananas help prevent muscle cramps, right? But what if that advice no longer holds true once you hit 60? Let's break it down. Bananas are high in natural sugars and simple carbohydrates. That means they digest quickly and flood your bloodstream with glucose. For a younger, more insulin-sensitive body, that sugar spike might be used efficiently. But for seniors, especially those with slower metabolisms or any degree of insulin resistance, it causes more harm than good. What does that look like in real life? A quick burst of energy, followed by a crash. And that crash isn't just about feeling tired. It causes inflammation. Inflammation that settles in your legs, your joints, your ankles. I've seen it happen again and again. Eat a banana, sit for a while, then try standing up. And your knees feel stiff, your ankles tight, like something is holding them back. That's your body responding to the sugar. And here's another piece most people miss. Bananas encourage fluid retention. If you've ever noticed your ankles looking puffier than usual, or your feet feeling tight in your shoes by the evening, this could be a reason why. The potassium in bananas can interact strangely with heart medications or blood pressure drugs. So not only are you dealing with sugar and insulin issues, but now you've got swelling, which adds pressure to joints already worn down by time. It's not about swearing off bananas forever, but eating them daily, thinking they're always helping your legs, that's the trap. And like most traps, it's hard to see until you're already caught in it. One of the most deceptive things about bananas is how innocent they feel when you're eating them. They're soft, easy to chew, and not overly sweet to the taste. But your body knows better. Your blood sugar still jumps, and for older adults, that jump takes longer to come down, often leading to that sluggish, heavy feeling in your legs a few hours later. And because bananas are so common, in cereal, on toast, In smoothies, we tend to eat them more than once a day. That's when things start stacking up. Your insulin never gets a full break. Your joints don't get a moment to breathe. That repeated elevation in blood sugar keeps your legs in a near constant state of low-level inflammation. Another thing people forget is that bananas aren't all the same. The riper the banana, the higher the sugar content. Those brown spotted ones, they taste sweeter because they are. And for seniors already managing blood sugar issues, those extra sweet bananas are almost like nature's candy. Deceptively powerful. I've had conversations with older adults who thought they were doing everything right, walking every day, avoiding junk food, but still feeling like they were wading through molasses by mid-afternoon. Their secret saboteur? A banana with breakfast and sometimes another after dinner. It seemed harmless. Until they stopped. And when they did, the changes came slowly at first. A little less swelling, a little less fatigue in the thighs. And then, suddenly, stairs didn't feel like such a challenge anymore. That's the power of removing a daily sugar trigger from your system, even one dressed up as a health food. Let's not forget that bananas are often recommended for leg cramps. And while potassium does play a role in muscle function, the whole picture is more complicated. If your system is overloaded with sugar and fluid retention, that potassium might not be working the way you expect. You're feeding your body a mineral it needs, yes, but at a cost. Grapes, the tiny inflammation bomb. If you're like most people, you probably have grapes sitting in your fridge right now. I know I usually do. They're small, sweet, and so easy to eat. You grab a handful, then another. Before you know it, you've eaten what amounts to a big bowl of sugar. But it doesn't feel like it, right? Because they're fruit, natural, healthy. Or at least that's what we've been told. But grapes are one of the worst offenders when it comes to stealth sugar, especially for seniors. The sugar in grapes, called fructose, is processed almost entirely in the liver. When you eat too much, and it's easy to overeat grapes, your liver converts it to fat and uric acid. Uric acid is a major culprit in joint inflammation. Think about that burning pain in your big toe, that dull ache in your ankles after a short walk, or that unexplained tightness in your calves. That could be uric acid buildup, and grapes may be quietly feeding it. I've seen this up close. A friend of mine would snack on grapes every night. She thought she was doing something good for her heart, but over time, her knees got worse. Her walking slowed. She was swelling more often and couldn't figure out why. It wasn't until she cut back on grapes that she noticed a change. And the scariest part? Grapes are so easy to eat too many of. You don't feel full from them. You don't feel heavy. But your body knows what's happening. It responds with inflammation and fatigue, especially in the legs, where blood flow is already a little slower. These tiny fruits might look innocent, but they're inflammation bombs, and they explode silently. Watermelon, the deceptive hydrator. Watermelon. Just the word brings back memories of summer, barbecues, and refreshing snacks on hot days. I used to think of it as the safest fruit around. It's mostly water after all. How could that possibly be bad for your legs? Well, here's the hidden truth. Watermelon has one of the highest glycemic indexes of all fruits. That means it spikes your blood sugar fast, really fast. And what comes up must come down. After the spike, you get a drop. That drop isn't just about feeling sleepy. It's your muscles losing fuel, your legs feeling tired, your joints aching just a little more than they did before. As someone who's observed how diet affects seniors for years, I started noticing a pattern. Seniors who snacked on watermelon regularly often complained of heavy legs. Not right after eating, but later in the day. Swelling, fatigue, tightness, it all adds up. And if you already have circulation issues, even mild ones, watermelon makes it worse. Watermelon also tricks you. You feel like you're staying hydrated, but you're not getting electrolytes or anti-inflammatory nutrients. You're getting sugar and not much else. You may not even notice the damage right away, but it builds. And one day, walking to the end of the driveway feels harder than it should. What really surprises most people is just how little watermelon it takes to cause that spike. A single thick slice, especially on an empty stomach, can set your blood sugar soaring. And because watermelon is soft and watery, it hardly feels like you've eaten anything substantial. But your pancreas, it knows. And for seniors whose insulin response has already slowed down with age, that spike takes longer to control. The result? A sugar crash that feels like sudden fatigue in your legs, tightness in your calves, or even that dull ache behind your knees that seems to come out of nowhere. I've watched people eat a bowl of watermelon after dinner, thinking it was a lighter choice. But later that night, their legs would cramp, or they'd wake up feeling sluggish and puffy. They didn't connect the dots, because how could something that feels so refreshing be the cause? Even worse, many seniors turn to watermelon when they're feeling dehydrated, believing it's a great substitute for water. But it's not. Watermelon is not electrolyte rich. It doesn't replace sodium or potassium in the right balance. So instead of rehydrating your tissues, it may dilute your body's balance further, making cramps more likely, not less. Another thing I've noticed is how often watermelon is eaten cold, straight from the fridge. That shock of cold mixed with a high sugar load can stimulate digestive stress in some older adults. You might not feel it right away, but over time, bloating, gas, and inflammation creep in, especially in the lower body. And because watermelon is such a common summer fruit, it's easy to overlook how often it shows up. At picnics, in fruit bowls, as juice, in smoothies. You might be eating more of it than you realize, thinking it's safe, when it's quietly stacking up against your mobility. Let's not forget watermelon seeds too. Some varieties are sold with them, and chewing those can add strain to sensitive gums or cause digestive upset. It's a small thing, but for someone already dealing with discomfort, it adds another layer of stress. One woman I knew swore by her nightly routine of a watermelon slice before bed, until we noticed her morning walks were growing shorter and harder. She didn't have arthritis and her weight hadn't changed, but her legs were stiff and her ankles looked slightly swollen. She stopped the watermelon, and within 10 days, the change was noticeable. That's the tricky thing with watermelon. It's rarely suspected. It carries such an innocent image that we don't stop to question it. But once you do, and you really start listening to how your body reacts, you may begin to see just how much it's been hiding. You don't have to eliminate it forever, but it's worth rethinking how often and when you eat it. Maybe not on an empty stomach. Maybe not in the evening. Maybe just a small portion with something protein-rich to buffer the spike. Because when your legs start whispering that they're tired, that they feel a little off, you should listen. Sometimes the culprit isn't your age, it's the watermelon in your hand. Oranges, the acidic sneak. Oranges have been around my kitchen for as long as I can remember. I've seen people start their day with orange juice thinking it was the healthiest habit they had. And for a while, it probably was. Vitamin C, immune support, a cheerful way to kick off the morning. But with aging comes a new reality. Oranges are packed with citric acid. For younger joints, this might not be a problem. But as we age, our joint linings get thinner. Our cartilage wears down, and acid becomes a threat. That morning stiffness in your knees, that dull ache in your hips after a short drive, it might not be just aging. It might be acid erosion, slowly, steadily irritating your joints. And don't forget the sugar. Oranges contain a lot more than you might think. Especially in juice form, that sugar hits your system fast. Combine that with the acid, and you've got a recipe for inflammation. I've seen it, the slow loss of strength, the swelling that comes and goes, the discomfort that sneaks in just when you thought you were doing everything right. That's why I call oranges the acidic sneak. They don't scream danger, they whisper it. Green apples, the sour trigger. Now, if there was ever a fruit that fooled almost everyone, myself included, it's the green apple. Tart, crisp, low in sugar, or so we think, and often seen as the healthier apple. Green apples show up in detox plans, diet books, and wellness blogs. I've seen seniors lean into them thinking they're making a smart swap from sugary snacks. And I totally get it. Green apples look clean, sound good for digestion, and seem like they can't do much harm. But here's what I learned the hard way. That sour taste that gives green apples their refreshing snap, it comes from malic acid. And for seniors, malic acid is a quiet menace. You see, as we grow older, our joints don't have the same cushioning they once did. The cartilage thins, and the tissues inside the joints grow more reactive to acids. So when you eat a green apple, your body doesn't just digest it, it reacts to it. That reaction can lead to stiffness, inflammation, and, in some cases, those nighttime leg cramps that make sleep feel like a challenge. I remember someone I knew who'd eat a green apple every evening before bed. She thought it was a great way to prevent hunger pangs at night. But what she didn't realize was that the subtle tightness in her thighs every morning, that strange dragging heaviness, might have been coming from that very apple. She wasn't diabetic, she exercised regularly, but still, something wasn't right. And when she cut the green apples, things started to shift. Her morning routine got easier. The tightness faded. It wasn't magic. It was simply removing a source of subtle irritation that had built up over time. Now, to be fair, green apples do have fiber and nutrients. But eaten alone, especially on an empty stomach or at night, they can do more harm than good. The acid and sugar mix hits aging systems harder than it would younger ones. And that's the thing. These aren't bad fruits by nature, but as our bodies change, so must our habits. Mango, the sugar bomb. Alright, let's talk about the final fruit on our list. It's sweet, golden, tropical, and probably one of the most beloved fruits on earth, the mango. Personally, I can't blame anyone who loves mangoes. I mean, just the smell of one brings back warm memories of summer and childhood for so many people. But for seniors, mangoes come with a sugar load that's so powerful, it's almost like eating a spoonful of dessert, with none of the caution. What makes mangoes such a quiet danger is that they don't look like sugar. They look like health, natural, juicy from the earth. But the truth? Mangoes are packed with fructose, the very same sugar that floods your liver and gets turned into fat and uric acid. Just like with grapes, this leads to inflammation. That inflammation loves to settle in the lower body, your toes, your ankles, your knees. Ever notice burning pain in your big toe at night? That tight pressure in your calves after just a short walk? That might not be from wear and tear. It could be inflammation from the fruit you thought was safe. I knew a man who loved mangoes. He didn't eat candy or ice cream. He had given up sodas years ago, but he allowed himself mango slices every day. And over time, his neuropathy, that burning, tingling discomfort in his legs and feet, started to get worse. He chalked it up to age and diabetes. But the real fuel behind that fire was the daily sugar spike, and mangoes were the accelerant. The other issue with mangoes is just how easy they are to overeat. Because they're not processed, our brain doesn't treat them with the same caution it might for cake or cookies. But the sugar spike is just as real, and that spike triggers insulin surges, energy crashes, and leg inflammation. It's not that mangoes are poison, far from it, but if you're over 60 and eating them regularly, it may be worth stepping back and noticing how your body feels in the hours after. Is your walk a little more labored? Are your feet a little puffier? Those are signs worth listening to. Mangoes are also often part of fruit smoothies and tropical mixes, which might sound like a healthy breakfast or snack, but when combined with other high-sugar fruits, they become a concentrated sugar storm for your body. It might taste refreshing, but inside, your system is scrambling to handle the sugar surge. And here's something most people don't realize. The body doesn't care whether sugar is from candy or a mango. The metabolic response is largely the same. Insulin gets triggered, inflammation flares up, and the areas already prone to pain, like your knees or your feet, begin to feel it first. It might not happen every single time, but if it's happening often, the pattern becomes hard to ignore. The worst part is, mangoes feel healthy. You don't feel guilty after eating one, the way you might after reaching for a cookie. And that's what makes it so easy to keep going back for more. One slice turns into half a mango. Then the other half's just sitting there. Before you know it, the whole thing is gone. And your legs pay the price. I've spoken with people who noticed tingling in their toes that just wouldn't go away. They were testing their blood sugar, taking their meds, and still, the symptoms lingered. Once they removed mango from their diet for a few weeks, that tingling reduced. Their legs didn't feel as puffy in the morning. The connection was subtle but unmistakable. Even frozen mango chunks, the kind you find in smoothie packs, are deceptive. Because they're chilled, your taste buds register the sweetness more slowly, making it even easier to overeat without realizing how much sugar you've just taken in. And for an aging digestive system, that much fructose in one sitting can take hours to fully process. Some seniors also mistake mango's softness for something easier on the stomach. And in terms of texture, sure, it's gentle. But what it does once digested is anything but gentle. Behind that creamy bite is a metabolic roller coaster, especially for bodies that can no longer buffer sugar spikes the way they once could. Let's not forget that mangoes are often ripened artificially when shipped long distances. That process sometimes enhances the sugar content, especially in overly soft or out-of-season mangoes. You might be eating a fruit that's even sweeter than nature intended, and not in a good way. And if you're someone who enjoys mango lassi or mango yogurt, just remember, now you're adding dairy and sometimes additional sugars into the mix. It may be marketed as a healthy snack, but the inflammation that combo can cause in your joints and legs may speak louder than the label. I also know many seniors who enjoy dried mango strips as a travel snack. And while it's convenient and seems healthy, it's actually a condensed source of fructose. With the water content removed, all that remains is fiber and an intense punch of sugar. Sugar that hits the bloodstream quickly and lingers far too long. Now, imagine that sugar combining with mild dehydration, common in older adults. That's when you start getting cramps. Deep, sharp cramps that wake you up at night or catch you while walking. The connection between mango's fructose and those sudden leg cramps is stronger than you might expect. Even mango's reputation as a tropical superfruit can be misleading. It might have vitamins, yes, but when the sugar outweighs the benefits, especially in older bodies, that superfruit turns into a super problem. Nutrition isn't just about what a food contains, it's about how your body responds to it. One of the trickiest things I've observed is that seniors don't always connect mangoes to their discomfort because the symptoms aren't immediate. You might eat mango in the afternoon and only feel the tightness in your legs at bedtime. Or you may wake up with swollen ankles, never thinking to blame what you ate the day before. That kind of delay makes the problem hard to pin down. And unless someone points it out, like we're doing here, it's easy to keep the habit going, unaware of the subtle sabotage taking place day after day. It also doesn't help that mangoes often show up in low-fat or clean eating recipes. But low-fat doesn't mean low inflammation. If anything, without fat to slow the sugar absorption, the fructose from mango hits your system even faster. What should you eat instead? The right fruits for stronger legs. At this point, you might be wondering, well, what am I supposed to eat? That's a great question, and it's one I asked myself too. The truth is, not all fruits are bad for seniors. In fact, some are the exact opposite. They help soothe inflammation, support blood flow, and nourish your muscles and joints in ways that improve mobility, balance, and energy. Let's start with berries. I'm talking blueberries, raspberries, and blackberries. These little guys are like nature's defense squad. They're packed with antioxidants, those powerful compounds that fight off inflammation, Unlike sugary fruits, berries don't cause huge blood sugar spikes. They release energy slowly and steadily, which is perfect for seniors who want to avoid fatigue and swelling in their legs. I've seen seniors switch from bananas to blueberries in their morning cereal and feel the difference in just a few weeks. Their legs didn't feel as heavy. They could stand longer, take more steps without soreness. That's no coincidence. That's biology at work. Then there are cherries, especially tart cherries. When eaten in moderation, they help lower uric acid, which is the same compound that causes gout and joint pain. Just a small handful of cherries can calm inflammation in your knees and toes. I've recommended this to friends dealing with persistent leg discomfort, and more often than not, they come back saying, "I didn't know something so simple could help this much." And let's not forget avocados. Yes, they're a fruit, and one of the best. Avocados are rich in healthy fats, which your joints absolutely love. They cushion from the inside out. They don't spike your blood sugar. And they give you steady, lasting energy, the kind that helps you keep walking, keep moving, keep living. Also, consider papayas and pears. Both are low in sugar, gentle on the gut, and easy on the joints. They support digestion and blood flow without overloading your system with fructose or acid. They're fruits that love your body back, especially the parts of you that carry your weight every day. The goal isn't to fear fruit. It's to choose fruit that works with your aging body, not against it. You deserve to eat with confidence, to nourish your legs instead of unknowingly weakening them. If you've made it this far, then I know something about you. You care, not just about information, but about your strength, your independence, your ability to keep moving through life on your own terms. I see that, and I honor it. This isn't about cutting out all fruit or becoming paranoid about food. It's about waking up to patterns we never knew were hurting us. For so many seniors, the changes in mobility don't come from some big fall or medical condition. They come from slow daily choices. The healthy fruit you snack on, the glass of juice you've been drinking for decades, the habits you trusted. These can be the very things that hold you back, not because you were careless, but because no one told you the full story. But now you know, and that knowledge, that's power. You can begin choosing differently. You can shift from bananas to berries, from oranges to pears, from watermelon to papaya. Every small change builds strength. Every wiser bite feeds resilience. Every decision you make, no matter how small, is a step toward more freedom, less pain, and stronger legs. I've seen it with my own eyes. I've watched seniors reclaim their strength by simply tweaking what they put on their plate. You can do the same. Don't wait for your legs to give out before you take your diet seriously. Don't let confusion steal your independence. You are not powerless. You're not too old to change. And your body hasn't given up on you. Not yet, not even close. Feed it right, and it will still carry you farther than you imagined. If what you've heard today has made you pause, if you've looked at your fruit bowl a little differently, then I invite you to take one small action. Subscribe to this channel. I share real, practical, eye-opening tips every week for seniors who want to stay strong, sharp, and independent. And if this video helped you, leave a comment with a 1 so I know you're with me. If it didn't connect, feel free to type 0. I always want to know how I can improve and better serve you. And most importantly, share this video with someone you care about. You never know whose legs you might help save. Thank you for spending this time with me. And here's to walking stronger for years to come.